Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Straight Outta BS podcast. Thank you guys so much for the continued support. I really appreciate all of you. Let's continue to share the videos, subscribe if you're not already, and just tell your friends and anybody that doesn't know about it, or that even if they do know about it, just continue to share these videos because it's really important. The average person and the average public doesn't even know these places exist, or they're in flat out denial, and they just believe that it can never happen here with that kind of mindset. So just keep on sharing these videos. You guys are incredible. We're over 300 subscribers, so let's get to 500 and let's keep on pushing. Let's get this thing huge and hopefully, news coverage. Let's get this on the news.
Oh yeah.
Or something, let's get more attention to this, whatever it takes. I want to do a moment of, thank you to the Patreon members. I appreciate you more than you know. I want to do a moment of silence for the person still struggling with addiction or anything like that, like intrusive thoughts. So on the count of 3, I'm going to do a moment of silence. 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank you for that. And without further ado, I want to go ahead and introduce my guest for the day. Go ahead and introduce yourself and where you went and what years.
Well, my name is Matthew Stanley. I was sent to Spring Creek Lodge Academy in the end of September of 2006. I was there for about 3.5 months, and then I was transferred to the 18-year-old program out at that Buffalo hunting ranch. And the only reason I got pulled was because of a major medical crisis, which I'm sure I'll elaborate on later.
Okay. I actually got to Spring Creek on January 23rd, 2007. So you might have been there when I was there. I'm not sure exactly. But did you get transported, or first of all, what led up to you being sent there? Did you know you were going to be sent there? What kind of things were leading up to that?
So my parents were very conservative, and I've always kind of been a rebel in their eyes. And I have 5 adopted sisters from China, and on the trip to adopt the 4th one, they left me home alone in charge, and I did what most typical high schoolers do when they're alone and they got some freedom. I threw some parties, got a little wild and didn't clean up after myself like I really should have. So when they got back, that was definitely the last straw for them. I was on major restriction, and I remember I was just kind of hanging out in the living room, and they got a phone call and they acted super strange about it, and they shooed me out of the room. So I went and picked up the receiver in another room and heard them talking to somebody from Spring Creek. And I didn't listen for too long. I definitely didn't get the whole picture, but I had the very solid impression that I was being sent away and that it was punishment. But I definitely did not know the gravity of the situation that I was about to be in. But yeah, they told me that we were picking up furniture in Minnesota, which, as I live in Washington, so that's quite a drive. So I obviously had already heard the phone call, knew that was an extremely BS excuse. And so I jumped in the car and, in my head at that point, I thought I was going to be gone, a month tops, and then didn't know what was really heading for me. But yeah, they drove me.
Okay, so you didn't get transported. Your parents brought you there. What do you remember about when you first got there?
Firstly, I definitely remember the extremely long drive up that mountain to get up there, and just thinking about like, man, if I wanted to run, there's nowhere I could go, and kind of like trying to keep like mental like landmarks in my head as we were going up there.
Definitely.
But yeah, I remember pulling up and seeing those cabins, seeing some kids in maroon and khakis out front, and thinking I was getting sent to like some like boot camp or something. And they took me into the intake trailer or whatever in there. It was my stepdad and my younger stepbrother that drove me. And so they kind of hung around with me for maybe like 10 or 15 minutes and told me, yeah, you're going to be staying here. You're going to have to fix yourself. You're not coming back until that happens. And I definitely remember after they left, and I was part of Respect family. So I was welcomed really nicely by the guys for sure. But I remember definitely like that dreamlike state of not really thinking that any of this was real. And I wouldn't say that went away even until like Halloween. Um, but yeah, I mean, it was definitely very surreal. And once the gravity of it really hit that I was there, that's when the struggles really started for sure.
For sure. Did they buddy you up with somebody? Did they give you a rule manual? Did they go over the rules with you? I went to Spring Creek too, but I'm just kind of curious about each individual experience.
Yeah, I had a buddy. God, I actually hadn't even thought about that until now. Honestly, I don't even remember who it was. But I definitely remember getting like a binder with a bunch of rules and explaining like the category consequences and stuff like that. And, you know, like not allowed to communicate with anybody, not allowed to definitely not look at girls or communicate with the girls. Um, I mean, I'll be honest, I definitely blocked a lot of the nitty gritty details of stuff like that out of my head. This is honestly like the first time I've actually really sat down and talked with anybody that wasn't like a therapist about this.
Well, you're very brave for doing so, and I think honestly it'll help because usually people feel better after they talk about it.
I mean, I appreciate you, you know, giving me the opportunity and the platform that you have for giving people the voice. It's very important.
Yeah, it's work that has to be done. It's not necessarily easy work, but it has to be done, and somebody has to do it. And why not somebody that has been through the exact thing?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, I was really looking
Maybe
forward
not
to
the
being.
exact thing because every program was different, but you know what I'm saying.
That was the positive aspect of having this conversation with you, was that I was very much looking forward to picking someone else's brain that had gone through it as well.
Definitely. So you said, would you say, or let me just ask you this. How long after you got there, do you think until things fully sunk in and you like out of that dream state? Was it Halloween or?
Yeah, it was like right after Halloween, because I remember leading up to Halloween, you know, how they would do like those like group events, kind of like where we would do the seminars and stuff like that.
Yeah, yeah.
I remember they were having us like um rehearse like a Ghostbusters song, and like we had like sheets, and Respect Family did like a whole like Ghostbuster number. So like I hadn't really gotten into the groove of what everyday life was like until after Halloween, because it was very much like I had just gotten there and this holiday is coming up, so this is kind of like the only positivity that we're focusing on right now.
Yeah.
And then after that went away, then it was kind of like, oh dude, I'm going to be here for Thanksgiving, I'm going to be here for Christmas. Yeah. And I got broken up with my longtime girlfriend at the time via a letter around the same time too. So
Okay.
it was well sinking in around then for sure.
Okay. I'm kind of surprised that they even let you have correspondence with your girlfriend, because usually they cut that off. So you're pretty lucky for having that. You know, at least it sucks that she broke up with you, but at least you had that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. I mean, it sucks it was through a letter, but you know, it is the way it is.
Yeah, definitely. That would really fucking suck. Um, how long after you got there did they push you through your first or not push you through, but did they have you go through your first seminar?
I feel like it was it wasn't too long after Halloween. I feel like it was the first couple weeks of November that we did orientation.
Okay.
And then I did Discovery as well. And the night that I did Discovery was like the end of Discovery was the night that they pulled me and sent me to the 18-year-old program. Like the very same night, right after I got out of the seminar, packed bags, in van, gone.
Okay. Interesting, because they had orientation when I was there still, but people that were there later on, like so I was the last person to graduate from Spring Creek. So later on, they actually got rid of orientation and it actually went discovery focus, uh, principles, keys, and then the PCs.
I mean,
But
honestly,
they actually got rid of orientation. So
yeah,
we
'cause I
got
mean,
to
I don't really remember anything from orientation, really, to be honest.
Yeah, it was a lot of it was a small circle and like getting used to like the idea of what a seminar is, I guess.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And that's what it was supposed to be. Do you remember your I am statement by chance?
I do not.
Okay.
No.
Okay. Did you go through focus in the other program?
No, not that I remember.
Okay. Okay. And so you said you were at Spring Creek 18 months?
No, I was at Spring Creek for I was at Spring Creek Lodge for 3. And
Okay.
then I got sent to the 18-year-old program. Um, most of, honestly, like a lot of the bad stuff that happened to me was at the 18-year-old program.
Okay. We'll shift gears there shortly. So you were there 3 months. What do you think the hardest part about being at Spring Creek was for you?
Definitely discovery. Discovery was extremely hard for me. I was put in isolation for about 4 days for breaking some cats. Like it was just an accumulation of them, and they put me in there. That definitely was hard on me at the time. But mostly, man, it was just the disconnect, of being there. That's what affected me the most, for sure. But I mean, discovery, unfortunately, I think is the result of why I ended up having the medical crisis that I had. So I have Crohn's disease, and I've had it since about the second week that I got to the 18-year-old program. The way that it works is, I mean, it's a genetic thing, and I was kind of already predetermined to have it, at least to a certain degree. But it was one of those things that like a high stress situation kind of has to awaken, and it was like maybe the first week of being at the 18-year-old program that I started vomiting like every single day. And and then it was vomiting every day up until I got pulled, and afterwards, even for a bit.
Did they ever take you to see a doctor at all for any of these throwing up or any of these things that were happening to you?
Yeah. It took a while. The lady that ran the program on that side, so the way that it worked over there, you had to do 6 hours of manual labor and then 6 hours of school. And depending on like what day of the week it was, you would get like kitchen duty or like laundry duty thrown on top of stuff.
Okay.
So she thought that I was trying to get out of physical labor by, vomiting.
Yeah.
But I went from 157 pounds to 95 pounds in about 3 months. That's not something you just do to yourself.
Yeah.
You know?
Something's going on there.
Yeah. So yeah, they did take me to a doctor. The doctor did a blood test on me, and he found that I was extremely anemic and malnourished on top of it. And so thankfully, that doctor's findings is what got back to my parents, and that's thankfully they listened and got me out of there, because ultimately I would have died.
You firmly believe that you would have died in the program if you hadn't gotten pulled?
150%. Not a doubt in my mind.
Okay. When you were transported to the other program, how did that transport happen? And you said that it happened right like instantly. You didn't know about it, correct?
Yeah, like I literally, got done celebrating the end of Discovery, and then the family father that we had at the time that was taking us back was like, "Yo, when we get back to the cabin, you got to pack your bags and you're going." And it was not even, there was no transition time. It was super shocking. So I didn't know what was coming at that point. I knew obviously that I was turning 18 pretty soon and that it was in my near future, but I definitely didn't expect it to be then.
Do you do you think your parents well, obviously they signed over their rights to go to this 18-year and over program, but so I was just curious if they had any correspondence with you.
A little up until the point of when I got sick.
Okay.
It wasn't very much communication other than them like forwarding letters from like my younger siblings and stuff like that. Yeah, I don't really remember them communicating very much with me at all. They didn't write me any letters. I got the maybe like once a month phone call to home that they did. And yeah, that was about it. It wasn't until that, yeah, something was seriously wrong that they actually started paying attention.
Did your parents do the seminars?
No.
Okay. And this, so when you got transported, did they take you by car or by plane? And where was this place?
It was a van. It was probably, I would say it was probably about 35 to 45 minutes outside of Missoula. And I only know that because one of the things that the 18-year-old program did is like part of the physical labor, like it almost felt like they were contracting us out to places. Like we worked a motocross event where we had to go out and I was a flagger for a while and my Crohn's was super bad. So the vibrations in the ground and the fumes from the bikes made me puke right there. And I spent most of the time back on the bus. We had to go and like rip a bunch of tin off of some like aluminum roofs off of some beat up buildings one time. They had us slaughter pigs another time. It was weird. It definitely felt like they were trying to make money off of us at points.
Well, I just look at it like, it's child slavery.
Yeah.
It's literally child slavery, you know?
Yeah, I definitely felt that way, for sure.
When you were at the 18 and over program, did they have points and levels like Spring Creek Lodge?
Yeah. So I was only a level 2 at Spring Creek, and they automatically moved me up to a level 3 once I got to the buffalo hunting ranch that was out there.
Okay.
But still, like I wasn't allowed until I was a level 4. I wasn't allowed to poop indoors. Like they had these outhouses out by our cabins. Our cabins were much smaller. There was probably only like 4 or 5 of us per one of them. And they had like 3 outhouses kind of off to the side of that. But like they literally would flaunt like, oh yeah, you can poop indoors where it's nice and warm, but you got to behave to get there.
Yeah. That's crazy. That's crazy to me.
Yeah. I mean, you can imagine somebody puking, every meal that they're having and stuff like that. That became a major complication.
I can imagine. That's really fucked up. Did you, food-wise, at Spring Creek Lodge and the 18 and over program, did you like it? Was it horrible? Did you look forward to some of the things?
I hated pretty much every meal at Spring Creek, but when we we cooked the meals at the 18-year-old program. Like how I was saying, how every other day kind of like was a different cabin's responsibility. Like I definitely had a buddy there. Like we were kind of like responsible for each other. Hated the kid, but yeah. So like some days we would be made to cook, and then other days the other kids would have to do it. But at that point, we were kind of like able to like give them suggestions of like what we wanted to eat, and we were able to prepare the food ourselves. So it was definitely a little bit better.
Okay. Let's see. At Spring Creek, did you ever work kitchen or get to go to the library at all?
I got to go to the library a couple times, but I wasn't on a high enough level to like be able to use the computers or anything like that.
Okay.
But I definitely read a lot.
Okay. What was some of your favorite books to read when you were there? Do you remember?
When I was in isolation, the only thing that they gave me was the book that I had on me, and I read all of the Lord of the Rings while I was in there. And dude, I just one memory that I have like in my head forever is like that point where they're like climbing over the snowy mountain and just like having no heat in that little room and just freezing my ass off and being like, oh, I feel it with you guys the whole time. You know what I mean? But yeah, like there was a ton of nights where I would just sit up there on that top bunk, and even though we weren't supposed to be doing anything, use that orange light coming in through that window and just try to read as much as I could. That was my escape. But I read all the Lord of the Rings. I read I was kind of still Christian back then. I'm definitely not anymore, but I read all the Left Behind books when I was there.
Okay.
feel like I read some other things, but I feel like I read Jurassic Park while I was there as well. But yeah, that was definitely one of my major escapes for sure.
Okay. Did you ever feel when you were reading like that you were actually there? Because I used to like literally be transported right there with like whoever the character was. I'd be like, nope, this is me. It was fucking crazy.
Yeah, even though these guys are fighting trolls, I would rather be doing that than what I'm doing right now, for sure.
Oh yeah. Did you participate in any of the Trail of Lights ceremonies? Like, were you there for anybody graduating?
No, but I definitely. Oh, actually, yes, I was. I was
Crowd
there.
surf thing.
Yeah, that was super weird, and like how they got to play their own like song or whatever. Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, I had to experience all of that. I actually, you know, the crowd surf and graduation ceremony is one of my actual favorite processes. But the whole day leading up to that, where they have you in blindfolds and walking around the facility and that whole thing, no, I didn't like that. And they had us write our own obituary to our parents.
That's weird. That's super.
It's really fucking crazy. And then read it out loud to people. It was fucking crazy.
I mean, it's like the whole. I mean, obviously, a lot of the things that they did were weird. Like the whole inner child thing during Discovery after beating the towel on the ground. Like that is something that has always stuck with me as just one of the weirdest things I've ever experienced in my life.
Well, see, I personally believe that there's something to that, but the way they went out about that is all wrong. Because I believe that everybody has an inner, like their innocence, like when they were a child, like that person. Everybody has that inside of them. So that there is something there, I feel like, but they were doing it all wrong. First of all, they were doing it against our will. Second of all, the process is there's no science to it. It's all pseudoscience.
Yeah.
So, and it's torture. It's psychological brainwashing and torture. So, nothing about it is right. But I feel like they might have had some knowledge, but I feel like they didn't know how to. You know.
I don't know. I mean, I do believe I agree with you on the inner child part, and that everyone has a bit of that inner kid kind of left in them. But I absolutely do agree with you that crawling back to my family was weird and just.
Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah, they made it. They went about it like super weird and like made it super weird. I forgot about that. Like the crawling back to. I forgot about that.
But like, not to mention, dude. I mean, like right after doing the towel and the duct tape thing, like, dude, I busted my knuckle on the ground within the first 15 minutes and was bleeding all over that carpet. And, you know, they kind of like, they gave me a Band-Aid and bandaged me up, but they were still yelling at me while they were doing it.
Yeah. The release process was intense.
I mean, I do think that cathartic release, especially in a time of high stress then, it is helpful. It is a form of therapeutic getting it out of yourself. It's just the way that they did it was, as you said, super fucked up.
Exactly. There's no science backing up what they were saying. Oh yeah, this works. Well,
yeah.
Based on your percentage of people that have committed suicide after the program, gotten hooked on hard drugs, and any number of other things, the numbers don't look good in your favor.
No joke. No joke. Yeah.
All right. How did you cope when you were at both of these places? You said reading. Did you make any friendships? Did you make a lot of friendships with people? Did you get close to people?
Yeah, I was definitely a lot more close with the guys that I knew at Spring Creek than I was at the 18-year-old program.
Okay.
I had some beefs with some of the guys at the other place. But I mean, I loved the guys in respect. You know, I didn't have any beef with anybody in there. There was a couple weird kids that were like doing some weird shit, but never was targeted towards me. I definitely felt like we were always in it together. And, you know, if I could talk to any of those guys today, I would absolutely thank them for being a friend then.
Definitely. Did you witness any staff members at either of these places doing anything like acting inappropriately towards either guys or girls or did you hear about any like staff members bringing drugs to the facility? Anything like that? Anything crazy sticks out?
No, not really personally. Um, I mean, we had definitely some weird guys that were in charge of us, but
Weird how?
okay, so I don't remember the guy's name, but he was really, really fat, and he wasn't our usual family father. And our family father was sick at the time, and he was kind of filling in. And I don't know why this morning I did not want to get out of the shower. You know, I was just soaking up my time in there, trying not to, I guess, get out and face what I had to do.
Yeah.
But he got pissed. He wanted me out of there, kept yelling at me. I was being defiant, and he ripped the curtain down and me exposed in front of everyone in there, you know, threw a towel at me and made me, you know, but it felt weird. It was a definite violation of my privacy, even though that place doesn't have any privacy.
I think I know exactly who that was. I think I know exactly who that was. I think that was my family father of Honor family. Big Al.
Maybe. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Big Al, dude.
Yeah. He
Fuck, like if you pissed off Big Al for any reason, bro, like not that anything he did was right, but I mean he had a fucking temper, dude.
yeah. I mean, dude, yeah, he lost his shit on me super fast. And like I said, just tore that curtain down.
Yeah, and you know another thing is he plays favorites big time.
Yeah.
Big
Well, I
time.
could see. Our family father, I don't remember his last name, but I remember his first name was also Matt. And he had classes.
Did he play guitar?
Yeah.
Yep, I know exactly who you're talking about. He actually was in Respect Family, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that dude. He actually taught me how to play guitar, believe it or not. When
He
I
was
was there
positive guy.
during Spirit Week, did you ever? You probably weren't there during Spirit Month or whatever, but they had these like guitar lessons that he taught.
Oh, wow.
This was towards like closer to when the program was about to shut down. They were
Mhm.
like giving us more privileges, and like it was actually no, like I was told, and the one person that was going to graduate with me as the last people to graduate from there were told that it was going to shut down, but everybody else didn't know. So the two of us knew that shit was going to come to an end. But
What did that feel like? Like, how did you feel knowing that you're only on limited time left there and that you're actually getting out? It was for certain.
bro, relieved.
Yeah.
I was also like super like when I was there, it was just like super compartmentalized. Like I just need to do this thing. Like, and I'm just super hyper focused. Like I don't let people get in my way, but at the same time, I don't let people pick on other people. It was it was a lot. It was a lot to deal with. But I just knew that it was coming to an end. So everybody there was, but see, everybody there was either transferred to another facility or they got pulled. So hopefully the majority of them got pulled, which I'm pretty sure, most people got transferred to other programs, unfortunately. But I
Yeah.
knew they weren't going to be at that shithole anymore.
I mean, I'm really happy you got out, dude, for sure.
Yeah, I'm happy I'm still here. There's a lot of us that aren't here anymore. And it's just a testament to how harmful these places are.
Hey, man, like I only spent 6 months there, but as you know, one day there is enough to create an entire lifetime of bullshit.
Yeah, and one day there would humble any like, dude. I guarantee almost anybody you put there, 3 days max, 3 days for certain. They're fucking gonna be feeling some sort of way, dude.
Yeah.
Because it's for me, it's just the tight schedule, like, the rigorous like tight schedule. You have to do shit exactly to a T, like all the time. Like, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, you're good. I gotta admit though, like I'm definitely a creature of schedule, and like
Definitely, it's healthy.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, didn't really bug me. It was more of just like the I have to fake it to make it, and kind of put on a happy face and just try to like make it through this as any way shape that I can.
Yeah, it's the things that you would have to do to just survive and like progress in the program. Like a lot of it, I didn't agree with.
Yeah, no, absolutely not. Something that was really weird that happened as like a side effect of transferring to the 18-year-old program, because you go from like being in a group of, like 30 to 35 guys or something like that to being only around maybe 20 tops in the whole area. It kind of went from being like I was saying before, like in Respect Family, I definitely felt like camaraderie. We were doing this together. We had each other's backs.
Yeah.
Like the 18-year-old program was this little shack with a bunch of other little shacks around it in a sea of land in every way you look. And it was almost like I felt like Castaway, kind of in a weird way. Like the survival instincts kicked in, and it was just a totally alone feeling.
Like you felt like you couldn't talk to anybody there? Was it more like every man for himself in the 18-year-old over program?
Yeah, like dude, we had 2 or 3 guys that left in the middle of the night, and they robbed us on their way out. Like stole some kid's shoes, stole a kid's Game Boy. Like we were able to have Game Boys and stuff like that there, and PSPs and stuff. But yeah, like these kids just robbed us, and then we ended up finding out what happened to them later, because they ended up hitchhiking their way to Missoula, and from a homeless shelter, one of them called us back and wanted to come back, and they took them back.
Wow. It's crazy how the brainwashing works and the mind control. That's how you know it works, because people no matter, it can be super shitty, and then but part of it is you're gonna get caught eventually, but part of it is the brainwashing.
I mean, I think also a lot of it too is like, so like the exit plan when you got sent to the 18-year-old program was basically like $50 and a drop off at a homeless shelter. We actually dropped one of our guys off there on an outing. They took us out to like the movies one time in Missoula, and I think it was mostly just like an excuse because we were already out there dropping him off at the homeless shelter. But like he took his exit plan. But it was one of those things. It was like I'm from Washington. Everyone I knew was in Washington. If I took that exit plan, I'm gonna have $40 and I'm gonna be in a state that I'm definitely gonna hate for the rest of my life.
Yeah, it's not a big city. It's not like a bigger city, You're out there like in the country. You're out there in the country.
Yeah. I mean, it's kind of a metropolitan city to a degree. You don't see like skyscrapers or anything like that, but it's definitely like a spread out ish suburban kind of place.
Yeah, not like country, like out in the sticks, like most of Montana is.
Like Thompson Falls, like that was like a street. You know what I mean?
Right? It was a couple blocks.
Right.
Crazy.
Yeah.
All right. At the 18 and over program, what was the hardest part there? Or did I already ask you that question?
No. So besides, like right after I got there, like within the first week, and I started having all the Crohn's symptoms popping off, like the main lady who thought that I was trying to get out of physical labor, she singled me out hard and kind of made me do a lot extra physical labor and would take away privileges. Like the guys were able to go to a paintball facility as like a reward, and I was the only one that was made to stay back. And she pretty much just made me do schoolwork. She was like, "You didn't earn this, go back." So I had to deal with that on top of my body literally turning on me. It was an extreme physical and mental struggle every single day. The hardest thing that happened to me, and this is right after I knew I was getting pulled, right after after the doctor had informed my parents that something was very medically wrong with me and I needed help. I was given 1 month left from my parents until they were going to come pull me. They told me they wanted me they got my physical labor thing taken away by talking to the lady, and they got me to do just schoolwork all day, and they wanted me to just focus on that as much as I could. And so I was getting kind of checked out there the last couple, or like 3 weeks there, and me and some of the guys one night we did like a cabin war kind of thing where we snuck out of the cabins and like threw dirt clods and shit and like toilet paper at each other. I don't know what the hell we were thinking, because obviously leaving evidence. But on top of it, they hit the main guy who was in charge, like the security guy there. They hit his cap, and he came out, caught me literally taking my shoes off and trying to get back into bed, along with 3 other guys. The punishment for this was, I cannot emphasize how much land was around us. Like, it was just, as far as the eye could see, just nothing, right? And their only like real distinguishable landmass that was by us was this big ass hill where there was a gigantic rock cube at the very top of it. And we had been told that some kids there from a long time ago had fucked up really bad, and they made them build that 5 by 5 by 5 rock cube at the top of that hill. Now, granted, it takes you probably 30 minutes just to get to the top of that thing. So their punishment to us was to build another 5 by 5 by 5 rock cube. I am maybe 100 pounds at this point, got no muscle on me. And I had to spend 4.5 days walking around these empty fields with a wheelbarrow with 3 other dudes to find somewhat flat rocks to try to build this stupid cube with. And like, I passed out. I puked blood. It was one of the hardest physical things I've ever had to do in my life. And that thing broke like on day 3. We had to try to fix it. Like, they took a picture of it and sent it to my mom. I don't know whatever happened to it, but it was gnarly. It was stupid, and it was uncalled for, honestly.
Yeah, that's intense. That's crazy. How long did it take you to make the cube?
Yeah, like 4 days.
Okay.
And during those 4 days, our school privileges were taken away. That was our physical labor, so I was out there for probably 8 to 10 hours.
That's crazy. I'm sorry you had to go through that.
It is what it is, you know?
Have you talked to your parents about how this place affected you? Could you ever forgive your parents? I've forgiven my parents, but I'll never forget what they did to me.
I'm in the same boat. My stepdad, no, for sure. He's long gone now. It definitely messed me and my mom up. It drove a wedge between us for a long time. I wouldn't say that I didn't forgive her, but it shattered all forms of trust in any way, shape, or form forever. I definitely never trusted her again. And sadly, she passed away a couple of years ago, and it was in the middle. Thanks. It was in the middle of like all of the MAGA stuff kind of like really starting to pop off, and she was super conservative, so she didn't agree with my mindset. So she blocked me on Facebook for like 6 months, and then I found out that she had cancer, and then she died like 3 months later. So there was really not a whole lot of resolution there. You know, it just kind of is what it is, and I've dealt with it in therapy now at this point.
Yeah, fuck cancer, first of all.
Yeah, 100% agreed. But she also had Crohn's disease too. I'm 3rd generation. Grandma had it, mom had it, I got it.
I gotta ask, does marijuana help with the Crohn's at all?
That is 100% why I'm in the industry that I'm in. Because I could not afford the medicine that I needed to the extent that I needed. So I knew that the only way that I was going to be able to facilitate my needs was to get into that untapped market really early and to just ride that green wave. And I'm still here 12 years later.
Did you start in medical or did you start in rec?
I started in medical. I helped form a company called Green Parcel Delivery. And basically what we did back in the day was patients that weren't healthy enough to make it out of the house or had like agoraphobia or, you know, really bad cancer that just could not make it to a dispensary themselves, we would basically take their phone calls, and we were the middleman. You know, we would go around and we had some of our own stock on hand too that they would buy from us, but most of the time it was us going place to place, getting their orders and taking it out to them and just kind of making them feel better.
Well, maybe I'm gonna have to interview you on. I have another podcast about that I'm in the stages of starting called Trikes and Terps.
Okay.
Like views and like I want to cover like the Washington State just like weed history and just like people that have been involved in the industry a long time. I got my medical card back in the day, and I would always frequent the farmers market.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we still
got
have
switched over to rec.
Yeah,
Really?
we got all of our edibles through a guy from there.
Still?
Mm-hmm. It gets hit up pretty often by law enforcement, but it's still going.
That's awesome. I'm gonna have to talk to you more about that.
Yeah, anytime you want to talk about marijuana, I'm always down.
Hell yeah, for sure. We're gonna definitely have conversations. I'm a hash maker too, so.
Nice, very cool, man. I mean, I think I sent you the video. I started out doing like trimming and stuff like that, and then I've worked my way up through pre-rolls, and now I'm in an oil lab, and I do carts all day.
Awesome, that's dope. Hell yeah. If you could go back in a time machine and not go through either of these places, knowing what you know now, would you do it and why?
I'm a person that believes that everything happens for a reason. No matter how fucked up and how confusing it is at the time, I feel like, yeah, I had to go there. It might have been the macro event of my life in terms of Crohn's and, mental shatterings of innocence of being a kid and all that stuff. But it absolutely carved me into the person that I am today. I wouldn't have ever thought about getting into the medical or cannabis industry if it had not been for having Crohn's. And I love where I'm at now. So, I mean, I can't say that I would go back and change anything because personally I like the place I'm at. But it sucked, for sure.
Yeah.
But everything happens for a reason.
Okay. Was there anything positive about your experience at either of those places? And it's perfectly fine if there wasn't.
Yeah, I really don't think so.
Right. Perfectly fine. Let's see here. Is there anything else you want people to know about your experience or anything that you might think about? Hold on. Is it your belief that the remaining schools could or even should or even could be fully regulated? I always mess that up. Or is it your belief that they should all just be shut down?
I don't necessarily think that kids with problems can't be rehabilitated, but I absolutely think that it's the responsibility of the parent to do that. That's pretty much all I really got to say about that. I don't really think that these schools really should exist, at least to the form that they are. If they were regulated, I don't really know what that would really make any different than any other like regular boarding school.
Yeah.
So I mean, no, I think they should be shut down, personally.
Okay, yeah, I agree. And is there anything else you want anybody or the people to know about your experience at either of these places? And what would you say to a parent maybe thinking about sending their kid to a place like this?
Listen to your kids and try to empathize with how they feel and constructively figure out how you can help them be a better person. Because sending them away is never going to do that. That is, that's how I feel about it.
Okay.
I wish my parents would have parented.
Yeah. Do you have any kids?
Not yet, but I'm trying. I'm married, so it's in the plans.
Awesome. Awesome. All right. Well, if you ever want to do a part two, for a lot of people, after we do the first episode, things start popping up and they start remembering things. So if that happens with you, what I have people do is just take notes, write down what you want to talk about next time, and we will do a part two. All right.
Yeah. I would definitely look forward to doing a cannabis one with you for sure.
Oh yeah, we're gonna for sure touch base on that for sure. All right.
Looking forward.
If you've watched this far in the video, please make sure you like the video. If you're not subscribed already, please make sure you subscribe and hit the notification bell for all notifications. And we will catch you guys in the next one. Bye.
Bye.